Hey everyone, my name is Zane Ussery, and coming to you at late in the night, whenever everything's supposed to be due. Responsible college student, I know. Um, Anyways, so I originally was going to do my paper over like the crime area that Hot Springs had in the early 20th century, but I shifted and I went to the Elaine Massacre in 1919 that took place in Phillips County, here in Arkansas. And, I don't know if you would. I mean, I guess you can consider it as it's local considering it's in Arkansas, but I chose to do that because that's a topic that I've heard about that I that I've studied about in various classes, but I never really dug deep into it. And so being able to write this paper over this topic, I got the chance to do that, and I found many interesting things that I didn't know. That one of the NAACP's lawyers that were defending the Elaine 12, as they called them, was Scipio Africanus Jones, which, if you didn't know, Scipio Africanus was a big warlord in Roman history. And I just made that comparison. But I didn't know, what I found interesting is that the 12 that, well, let me get to this first. My paper was over the economic exploitation of the African American workers in the early 20th century, that the sharecroppers and tenant farmers, that the white landowners wouldn't treat them right, and that they would rack up debt. And whenever they go to take care of that debt, it would be hard to actually pay off that balance because the white landowners would keep the accurate records from the sharecroppers and tenant farmers. And also talked about how racial terror, like white supremacy, because with the Elaine massacre, those that were arrested were put in front of an all white jury, a white judge that was basically mob dominated. And in the Supreme Court case Moore v. Dempsey, the Supreme Court ruled that federal authorities had the ability to overrule a miscarriage of justice by the state's legal system, court system. I find it fascinating that it was a tragic event, the massacre, but it was one of the steps to it help due process for African Americans, and it was one of the steps leading to the civil rights movement, and it happened right here in Arkansas, with also the Little Rock Nine, yada yada. But it's very, very interesting. And also added on to that is I did discuss the legal outcomes of the Elaine massacre, how one of the leaders, Walter White, infiltrated the scene at Elaine and did an investigation of his own and found the truth. And so people caught wind of his story, and so it caught the eye of the NAACP, where they proceeded to raise funds and start hiring defense lawyers and pursuing legal action for the defendants. One of the things that I found interesting was that the Elaine 12 were split into two groups. One was the Moore defendants, and the other one was the Ware defendants. And the Moore defendants, I believe, if I remember correctly, that those 6 men, it was split 6 and 6, and those 6 men, they were all sentenced to death. And those 6, the Moore defendants' sentencing was affirmed. The Ware defendants, which were led by Scipio Africanus Jones, they were able to get out free from the Arkansas Supreme Court set them free, and they had no retrial of the men because of Governor Burrow. He made the Supreme Court again review the case, and so eventually they set him free. But the Moore defendants are the ones who actually went. Those are the 6 that the case was brought to the U.S. Supreme Court. That Governor Burrow paused their executions, and so eventually the NAACP got it to the Supreme Court. So the Ware defendants were the ones who, those 6 were the ones who, and the NAACP pushed it to the U.S. Supreme Court with the Moore v. Dempsey case, and the ultimate ruling that allowed that federal governments have more ability for due process. But anyways, that was my paper. So glad it's finished. Anyways, bye.